back. It is time for game number 3 here in this LPL versus LPL semifinal. BLG up 2-0, despite both games being close. But gentlemen, we were just joking about it. In the future, nobody remembers how close it is if it's a 3-0. Yeah. They just remember BLG punching a ticket to finals, which they are now 1 game away from doing.
And they have now won 10 straight games against Weibo. And that is something that has got to get in your head. There have been close games amongst those 10, but still, at the end of the day, every single time, it's BLG coming out on top.
But I think this really is the learning point for BLG. We talk about T1 learning from DRX and saying don't underestimate your opponents. Last year, they underestimated Weibo, and Weibo were able to fight back against them. Now it's BLG taking that learning and saying, no, we deserve our spot in finals. We are the best team in the LPL, and now we just have to take 1 more game off of Weibo to prove it.
So adjustment being made. Yone not banned on blue side this time by Weibo. Instead, they're actually going to be banning out the Kalista. So do they go Yone? My guess is they don't go Yone, and they're going to have a plan to try to deal with Knight's Yone. That, I think, is like the 3rd evolution of this kind of Yone conundrum. But it doesn't give me a lot of faith.
I was going to say, I think it's the fact that they banned the Kalista instead is, hey, look, we just don't want to take the Kalista so we can actually go for a bit more of an even lane matchup. Also, the fact that Light has already brought out some things like the Caitlyn and try and change things, yeah. But I think that's where it's like, hey, let's just try and go back to bodying bot lane, because that was the thing that was successful for them in LPL. But as you say, they're going up against what has been a pretty nice combo for BLG.
It's a really strong combo, and I don't see why Knight just doesn't go Smolder on 3. And then you have the exact same problem that you had in game number 1, right? And this is my concern. You know, the question is then, okay, does Weibo say, well, game 1 actually we fought pretty well, but we lost because we didn't have enough engage? You know, do they draft some sort of additional form of hard engage or some way to really make the fights happen on their terms? Because I think that is going to be something that they do really require if they want this game to look very different. And with Ezreal and Maokai, you have that primary form of engage. You also have an AD carry who can both stay alive, but also reach backline with that ultimate. And I mean, this just feels like a really obvious AD slam, but it's not going to be the Smolder.
No, it's going to be the Kais instead to get that good matchup in the bot lane. And I think that is kind of to say, hey, look, we need something that's going to be able to match Light, because Light has been incredible on this Ezreal. And as this game starts to go on, there is so much CC going the way of BLG. You're going to be able to unlock this Ezreal for a lot of those fights. But I think that's honestly where Kais is going to struggle. I look at not a huge amount of frontline dive to try and set up. Like, Skarner kind of likes people to play into him. You need something that's a bit more focused on further dive, but I just don't really know how you're going to get it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to be interesting, right? And we could obviously just draft hard engage with support, and I think that does fix a lot of the issues. You know, so far, there has not been a lot of support bans. It is just the Rakan, but like Rel is up, Alistar is up, Nautilus is up, Leona's up, right?
Everything's up.
So you can just grab some sort of hard engage champion. I think that plus some sort of high consistent DPS champion for Knight would round out the composition that BLG have quite well. And I do think Jax is a great answer for side lane Yone later on. You can outscale. Counter-Strike, obviously such a strong answer to all of the auto attack damage that Yone does really rely on. And we'll see if it is going to be, you know, a little bit of a cook in the draft, and if they are going to be sending Maokai to top again. BLG certainly thinks that it is a possibility at least, because they are going to maintain that ban here on the brand.
Yeah, they are getting value on Weibo's side for the flexibility of the Maokai after showing it last game.
This would be crazy.
So let's see. There's no way, right?
No.
Well, I mean, for a while, mid lane Quinn was actually getting really popular, and this.
I think this is a shout out to the Shy from last year, though, right? It was the Quinn that he brought out in this finals, sorry, in the semi-final to take down Bin. So I think it's more of a like, hey, we remember what you did, but it's not going to go the same way.
All right, the Akali. Oh. All right, Akali versus Yone in the mid lane.
This is the unstoppable force versus the stoppable force here on the Akali. This is like the 90% win rate assassin in the mid lane versus the 3-8 Akali, which has not really been looking strong.
But he likes those odds.
He likes those odds, and it is Knight playing it, so has the confidence that he can just make this happen. This is going to be interesting. They are committing pretty heavily to dive. I think pretty much guaranteed we are getting a hard engage support on 5, I would think, from BLG to really kind of round things out and try to get into that back line. But with the buy coming through, it's going to be a nightmare game, you have to feel like, for both Akali and for Kai'Sa potentially. I mean, if you get that lockdown, you have so much follow-up AoE that can hit Akali in the Shroud and also potentially be able to actually lock them down pretty hard.
Also, who's Akali really assassinating this game? It's so difficult to lock down an Ezreal.
So
I said it onto the Ezreal. Yone is going to match you and be relatively beefy in himself, and everyone else has got their own kind of tank stats. So it becomes very difficult to really play for this Akali, but this would be this could be an interesting one. Now.
I mean, Sejuani Rumble is one of those pairings that we've seen be really popular with the LPL and LCK teams. We were talking about this morning when we were talking about draft, and they do have that triple melee top side here, plus a melee support. So it is going to be the Maokai getting moved around. It is going to be getting flexed. This time it is going to be Crisp that is piloting it, though. So, you know, there are a lot of pairings here for Tarzan to look to try to attack really any lane where he sees an opportunity. On the other side, I do think it could be a tough game for Knight. I mean, I really agree with you, Rob. There's not a lot of great targets. I mean, if they can execute perfectly and you kind of have a Akali diving in on the Ezreal and then he's running away into the waiting arms of Bin's Jax and this kind of thing, then you can make it happen. But there's no super easy front to back. It's got to be everyone coordinating, getting the plasma stacks in. When he shifts away, Killer Instinct comes in from Elk, and you help to really knock that guy down and finish him off. But the amount of counter engage is strong. Maokai ult, you have the Equalizer, you have all of these tools that you're going to have to be fighting through if you want to actually get to light.
Yeah, it feels like you've got so many ways to separate the fighters, Weibo. I just don't really know how they want to plan this one out. It feels like unless Knight gets like 2 kills early in a skirmish and suddenly starts to snowball and can just one-shot Ezreal or be a massive threat onto a Yone, but that's so difficult to just say, yeah, that's the game plan. So, I don't know. I think this is where Weibo, their draft is really favored in this one.
Well, they're going to need everything they can get, down 0-2. Weibo either goes on a 3-game winning streak to break their 10-loss streak against BLG now, or their season is over, just shy of being able to go to London and fight again in the finals.
And we were talking about this backstage, Flowers. Like, it's so tough. You've already lost twice on red side, so now you have to get a win on blue and then swap over to the red side and try and figure out how the hell to deal with this, like Yone, how to deal with so many of the picks that you've had the luxury of banning away on the blue side.
This is also pretty interesting. So Light has elected to go teleport. All of the BLG players were like pinging that. It felt like when it's coming in, people were kind of pinging over on that. So it is going to be heal on Crisp. It's TP on Light, which is really strong for that 2v2 as long as it's not an all-in play, because it can really allow you to dominate tempo, get a quick early base, and be able to kind of take over in that position from there.
And we're talking a lot about this Akali, whether or not it's going to be able to succeed. Reminder, this is our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, Xiaohu versus Knight. Game record 30-32, ever so slightly favoring Knight. Series record tied dead even 11-11 between these two.
It is very even here, but the thing is, when you're a little kid and your dad beats you in the 1v1, you know, and then you grow up and you start dunking on him, that's kind of what Knight's been doing to Xiaohu lately. A 10-game winning streak, I feel like, really tells the tale of how things have gone this year.
I mean, these are the 2 premier mid laners in the LPL. In the last 18 finals of the LPL, 16 of them have had either Xiaohu or Knight in them. They go toe-to-toe on LPL titles with 5 apiece, toe-to-toe on the record for most consecutive finals at 6 apiece. And it really feels like a world championship is what separates these two, apart from obviously the 2 extra MSI titles that Xiaohu has, but it really has been so favored at this world level for the LPL as to who takes that title of best mid laner.
And we kind of have the Aussie rules lanes here, you know, the upside down lanes going on as the lane swap was matched. You know, traditionally people with the Alistar are trying to avoid that lane. We do have Tarzan up on the top side though, on an Elk still level 1. We'll see if they want to look for any sort of really aggressive play. But they are very healthy, so I think it would be pretty tough to pull off.
Another Mystic Shot lands onto Elk there, though, so Crisp and Light trying to keep that pressure on. Level 2s have now been acquired, so BLG's duo should be plenty safe enough. Yeah. We've already talked about it a little bit, but just again, going to be keeping our eyes this entire game on Knight's Akali, on whether or not he can actually navigate these fights, because AoE is the thing that nullifies the normally very powerful Shroud that Akali has.
Look at Shun, though. He's setting up for a dive on towards Breathe immediately on the bottom lane.
All right, Breathe gonna get stunned up here for the counter strike. Bin wants to get it done. First blood for Shun. It's a 1-for-1 trade as both top laner flashes are spent.
Breathe can TP back in though. Bin actually burning the flash and dying. Works out pretty well. As long as you are able to get the majority of this CS, I think you're pretty happy because the kill went to Shun, but the kill went to Breathe and on towards Shun. So actually in the grand scheme of things, it works out pretty even Stevens.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, I do think it's still a well set up play here. Bin holds the counter-strike for so long, so when there's the flash coming through, it's still level 2 breathe. They do kill him off. As far as total gold, though, you did get the first blood over on BLG, and you denied about 4 or 5 minions there, so he's going to be down a little bit of XP once Bin actually does collect the wave as it pushes back towards him. But for the isolated 1v1 for now, things pretty darn even.
Plus the extra assist money for making sure that you have a second guy involved in it does end up being 600 total gold versus 300 traded back the other way. Feels good for BLG, but still nice, close game early on with just that trade in the bottom side. It's not going to be another 17-minute first blood in this one, but we're also not getting that chicken fight.
Look at Shun again, though. He resets, giant spell, bot lane again. They really want to punish this.
I mean, I think it's really smart. The wave is horrible right now for Breathe. Breathe has no flash, no TP, and the wave is heavily stacking and pushing away from him, so they know he's going to be vulnerable.
Oh, but now problems up in the top side as On and Elk. Got to be careful here. Light and Chris doing a great job in this 2v2. Enemy support nearly killed as they force On back underneath the turret.
Still trying to see if they can put the pressure down. This wave is going to crash as well, so they might be sitting ducks underneath here, especially if Light can get a couple of those mystic shots to land. But both junglers now just fighting on this bottom side. Luckily, Tarzan was there, so you do get the crash for Breathe on that bottom side, and it won't get zoned off.
Yeah, that was interesting. It looked like Shun was trying to delay time, see if he could actually secure it without having to use Smite, because Knight could move over. But at the end of the day, Tarzan does at least force that Smite to be used. And it is going to be Breathe having to back off here. And it will be a bit of an advantage down on that bot side, you know, as far as the experience goes, but not much of one.
So it has been total grub control so far in this series for Weibo. The first set of grub's going to spawn here in about 45 seconds. Remember that game number 1, Weibo got 5 of the 6. Game number 2, they ended up getting 6 of the 6. I'm curious if BLG will be able to do a better job fighting for those grubs in this third game, because once again, we've got the Jax-Skarner combo.
I mean, it's just felt like they haven't cared because they've been happy to scale, they've been happy to side lane, they've been happy to trade for other things. They're saying, yeah, great, take the grubs, we're going to take our time, we're going to have that patience. But I do think this kind of composition that they've drafted for this time is a lot more scrappy, and they may be looking to fight.
Then sidestepping that last Electro Harpoon there, trying to get away from Breathe as Tarzan is again hanging around this bottom side. Both junglers investing a lot into this bottom part of the map, trying to hover this 1v1.
But the fact that he shows bot means that it is going to be a grub start top for BLG.
Yeah, BLG going in, looking for Crisp first. Sure, he can flip connects, but Knight does not want to go further forward towards the Maokai.
Just trying to push Crisp off, though, so they can look towards these early Void grubs. But you've now got push in mid. Bin had started to roam up, but he needs to reset, go into that bot lane. So it's a bit of a timing window here for Weibo.
Yeah, Tarzan stepping up with Xiaohu, trying to contest here for the grub. Second grub goes over to Shun. Knight's got to be a little bit careful, goes into the smoke, slam into the wall with the Ishtal impact. Shun looking to lock up Xiaohu as Tarzan gets a nice stun there back onto the enemy jungler, but Bin has made his way to the fight first. All 3 grubs going to be secured now by BLG. Fate Sealed forces out a couple of flashes. Crisp now in the middle of everybody. Got to be careful trying to get back over the wall, but Bin's already going to grab the kill on him. Knight behind him, trying to keep everybody corralled. Perfect execution right back over the wall. Breathe finally makes his way in. Equalizer still available, but BLG are all on the exit route. It's 3 grubs and 1 kill for BLG.
I cannot believe BLG managed to get out of that. And the fact that Bin got that kill is the only thing that evens up the massive wave he just lost on bot lane as well. So XP definitely in favor of Breathe, but I'm baffled that no one died on BLG side.
I mean, they played it out really well. Knight was dancing around in that shroud, waiting until the Sejuani stacks from the passive would actually fall off before getting back into combat, so he couldn't actually get focused down and burst down. I mean, this is the fallout of that wave. It was a massive stack wave. He lost, I would say, a good 2 to 3 waves down on that bot side, and then now it's stacking towards his opponent. So Breathe is going to go plus 20 CS or so, maybe even more than that, off the exchange from where he would have been.
Okay, Chris trying to close the distance here on Elk, but the Kais is fast enough to get out. On now, showing up to cover his AD carry, while Knight pops the smoke back in the mid lane again, trying to get away. Nice CC from Tarzan to lock him up, but there is no Sejuani ulti, still only level 5.5, means they don't have the CC to guarantee the kill on the flashless Akali.
Yeah, both ultimates not being available meant that they just didn't really have the follow-up damage, so Knight able to step away. Bin now actually being the one to cover, and Bin has been doing a good job of kind of sacrificing himself, but he wants a bit more here.
We saw this in the previous game. It's Bin and Shun working together to punish Xiaohu when Knight is no longer able to maintain his position. It's beautifully done, just like the last time. Xiaohu drops, and another kill over to BLG.
And he flashes at the back of it as well, which means that he ends up losing that on top of everything as well. Nice play from Bin with the roam up, and Shun has been doing a great job of playing with this Garner for these ganks through the lane, and now it's going to try and catch Crisp.
All right, let's see if Shun can get this done. Bin coming around with the counter-strike from the side. Crisp, only level 5, still pretty squishy here with the Maokai. They're chopping down trees with lampposts. Bin picking up another one as Shun escorts his top laner out. They'll rejoin with Elkin on, but Xiaohu locks up the Skarner and guarantees that Weibo can grab themselves their second kill of the game.
They do get that one kill back, but still great things happening on the map here for BLG. Knight's pushing in mid lane as well. And with those kills, Bin is now top 10 in MSI plus Worlds kills. He passes Ruler, one of those most historic players here. Bin, it's kind of like sneaky how long he's been playing. I tend to forget and think of him as one of those newer players, but he's been around for a while now, back to the Suning days.
Yeah, I mean, where he got the first ever pentakill in the World Finals. The man has been setting records for a long old time, and I think he wants to stick around and keep setting them up, especially if Shun is going to keep setting him up like this as they look for this engage on towards Crisp. Yes, he gets the knockback, but the answer's there. Counter-strike, the whack down. And then it is a nice job from Light to land so many of these Mystic shots as they start to move back out. Having Xiaohu in the back pocket as well, having a little bit of extra move speed thanks to the boots, means he's able to take on the Scorpion.
Yeah, the Fated Shield is nice, and then there's just no recourse for Shun. He can't flash out, he didn't have his E up yet, and if you use the W, you pull tower aggro. So even though you have the shield, so there's nothing he can do there, so he just turns around, accepts the death, makes sure that there can't be any sort of chase down after that to put pressure on the rest of his team, but things pretty even overall. It's just that top jungle advantage thus far for BLG. You know, Kobe was talking about how well he thought Shun had been doing on the desk, and again, he's turning in another strong performance, setting his team up for success.
Well, we have 10 seconds until the second set of grubs spawns. This is the first time in the series that BLG has acquired more than one, and they got that entire first set. Just getting a single grub from this second group is going to enable him to have those Void Mites spawning, going to enable him to have that extra split pushing power with this Jax for Bin.
But I don't think they will. I think they're just going to look for gold on Knight. Then we talked about this Akali really needs to get snowballing. She's already behind thanks to that kill that Xiaohu's able to pick up. So, hey, instead, we're just going to play on towards bot side, get the dragon stacking starting, and also look then for that extra gold on towards the Akali.
Yeah, we'll see how much he's going to be able to get, because after they grab the dragon, Shun could even move down towards bot side if they do think that there is some sort of an angle, but it looks like they don't expect that there will be, and Reed had it warded out either way.
Yeah, I want to go back to your point you were making on Shun, though, because it's incredible to see how strong he's been for BLG after he was subbed out.
Wasn't the intended starter, yeah.
Exactly. It was Wei who came in. He came in halfway through summer and was like, no, this is the guy that we want to work with. He's going to add stability. We can just play through our 3 strong lanes. But coming into the Worlds, they were like, no, we want the guy who's able to come up with the creative plays, the guy who can play the Kindred, the guy who is piloting this Skarner so incredibly well here.
And it's really made you forget about a bit of the rough start that BLG had, because they swapped in Shun, you know, after a couple of those losses, and he has been a guy that's bringing stability now, which is not really what you kind of associate with him. He was more that explosive player, you know, go dive bot, you know, go create these spicy plays, but he has been great for them on the Skarner.
2v2 could break out in full swing here on the top side. Xiaohu, though, snaps right on back with a soul unbound, so the scrap ends before it really begins. And Ben's happy enough with that, considering he's already down to about 1/3 HP. Tarzan gonna walk up, face check into that brush. Not too afraid here on the Sejuani with the Arctic armor ready. Crisp also hanging around nearby. There's a lot of Weibo presence up here as this wave crashes into the turret, and Shun is making sure that Ben is not under real, meaningful threat as he farms it all up.
Yeah, just going to be able to zone Wave away from going for the dive, but still have to get turret plates for Xiaohu. And this Yone is actually starting to get into a really good spot now with the early kill and now some of these plates. And Xiaohu was very good in game number 1 on this pick, and he may have an opportunity to do it again as Knight wants to fish for Breathe.
See if he can find him here. The Akali, a level down though, not quite at the point where Breathe is. Has not been able to have as much time here in the side lane, so Knight just thinks better of it, backs away.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the steel cap boots, they're kind of thinking, hey, maybe we can look for the Akali up against Breathe, but we already said Breathe got a ton of that early CS and a big experience lead, so he's under a lot of threat going up against the Akali, who's still only just about to tick over to level 10. So at this stage, I think side lane gameplay is the way forward for Weibo.
And it's so interesting because BLG, I generally think of as the masters of playing this sort of style, of playing through sides in the LPL. I think that they were the best to do it. And you're looking at a lot of these games, and it feels like they're asking Bin to group so much that he's being put behind constantly as far as farm. You know, you look at the top lane matchup, he's down 35 CS, 36 CS when he was coming into it with an early advantage because of that kill, because of the bouncing wave to him.
And it's also funny because these are kind of the things you'd see in the game ones from BLG. The ones that they would tend to lose was, hey, we're over grouping, we're trying to force plays at early fights, but okay.
Oh, Bin jumps in there, so close, slightly late on the flash follow for the counter-strike stun.
Would have had the Kaisa to swing on by as well if he'd managed to connect to that. And that's what they were trying to set up, but Xiaohu just about able to get away thanks to that CC delaying the follow-up from Bin.
Been trying to find that big play. Can't quite make it happen, but at least it is the trade of flashes, and Knights gets grasp on bot side.
Worth pointing out here, very big difference compared to games 1 and 2 with those turret plate counts now that we're after 14 minutes into the game. 23 plates in game number 1, 22 plates in game number 2. Far, far less, not even 10 this time around in the third game. You can see with your MasterCard lane economy snapshot, the whole gold lead for BLG is on a Skarner, and that's not really where you want it to be. He's a big old meatball.
And if you're going to say that, then you know it's really a
TP off
problem.
the bot side, though. They want to try and look for the dive on Breathe.
See if they can get it. The wave still needs to be pushed up a little bit further. Bin is already in position, but the equalizer summoned up by Breathe to try to get rid of this wave. That last cannon minion will be the only thing to try to walk up to the turret, but it ain't gonna get there in time. Breathe overheated. They immediately engage the Alistar ultimate, and BLG just brought enough firepower. Breathe's best efforts are in vain.
There's nothing you can do against the Alistar. Once he pops that ultimate, he's invulnerable to these towers. Lot, again, lost though on that top side. You can see that big wave was crashed by Weibo, so yes, you're getting a kill, but you're still losing on the map as BLG.
And at the very least, he actually did kill off the wave with the equalizer before it did crash. So the tower damage is now coming in, but they can't kill off that tower. Had he not been able to actually finish off that cannon, maybe the tower goes down as well.
Yeah. It
is definitely a close thing, but it is not going down just yet.
Okay, we got 30 seconds on our next Drake. The first one was picked up by BLG. It's going to be 16 minutes in, and second Drake of the game will only just now be spawning, so it's not like it'll be a big soul rush type of game. BLG obviously would be happy to get it, but I don't feel like there's a ton of pressure on either side to make a play for it, and BLG is overloading the top side instead.
And we'll just see what that soul spawn is going to be, because if second dragon is Chemtech, you know it's not going to be that soul, which kind of takes the worst one off the table. And there is still options for things like Hextech and Mountain Soul that I think could be incredibly strong in this game.
Herald summoned up mid lane by Weibo as they'll try to force down this tier 1 turret. The first turret's already going to be killed up there in the top side. 2v1. Breathe wanted to try to stop Knight, and on the rumble with the flame spitter needs more damage, but he won't find any of it. Teleport out from Knight to guarantee that he won't be traded back. Even gets out of the way before the true shot barrage would have hit him.
And again, another kill gifted across the night. You can see BLG are giving so much to try and get this Akali ahead, but the teleport needed to be burnt, which means that Weibo know Knight can't get involved. So it's a tower trade for the Dragon, plus a kill for BLG.
Yeah, and he already has that first item completed, has that Storm Surge, you know, working towards potentially something like a Proto Belt or whatever next. And Bin looking good as well. They can play this 1-3-1 style and just try to use the Kaisa to collapse on those side lanes and look to try to potentially avoid some of these 5v5s that we thought was going to be really difficult in the draft.
And the question you posed earlier, Isaac, is now answered. On, what are you doing, buddy? On goes through the Hex Gate, knocks Tarzan back over the wall. Never mind, I should have never doubted. Beautiful impale from Shun, pulls back too. But the counterattack from Xiao, who is there with the Fate Seal. Massive damage onto everybody on BLG, but Xiao, who's the first and only to die. Breathe comes in with the equalizer. Knight's gonna try to get away. BLG is burning, and Weibo is turning this whole fight around. Shun is about to drop. It looked good at the start, but Weibo suplexes the play.
It was a 2-for-1 special, but their eyes were bigger than their stomach. Weibo immediately jump in and decimate BLG as they're just stuck in the pit, burning alive.
It was all about that teleport there from Breathe. The first kill over on a Xiaohu makes you think that BLG could win the fight, but there's so many low health bars on BLG. Breathe just arrives and cooks them up, and Shun playing with fire a little bit here. Has to be somewhat respectful. You lose 2 towers off the back of that lost team fight. Weibo slingshot themselves into the lead.
And it was bizarre for BLG to go for this. Knight doesn't have his ultimate available yet. And On playing way too aggressive. Sure, he whacks Tarzan over the wall, but what do you try and achieve here? Because you've got everyone who's stuck in the pit. Xiaohu with a great ultimate as all these melee champions try and go in, but Knight doesn't really have that execution damage. Elk is being pushed back on the opposite side, and then it's that TP that you talked about, Azael, as in comes the Rumble.
I mean, credit to Light. This guy hit everything. I want to say he hit 3 straight Qs on Knight, shifts in, hits an ulti on 3 to 4 members as well. His damage had to be out of this world. He's the one who softened up so many of those members. Yeah, no surprise. Watching that team fight, I knew this guy was going to be dominating the damage charts. Him and Xiaohu really tag teaming to get so much done, and even Tarzan, 2K on the Sejuani.
And Tarzan barely surviving with about 50 health there as well. Xiaohu trying to use the Fate Seal to get away. Knight puts his body in front of him to lessen the distance, but it still doesn't matter. The Weibo mid laner survives as the bottom lane tier 1 turret falls, and once again, the game is back so close.
But you can see in these team fights that it's the AD carries that are already getting to step up, and Light has a massive lead now. And with Weibo just being able to play this dive, push forward, I think it's just opening up for Weibo to really start to take this game. BLG need to get creative. They need to start setting up for these overloading side lane plays so the Akali can get value, but in a team fight, I think I just give it to Weibo.
I agree, and I mean, when you look at how these 2 AD carries are having to play all the fights, it's just wildly different. Light is shifting forward. Light is having so much space created for him, while Elk is running for his life from all of these divers on the Weibo side that are piling in, these 4 melee champions that just have a bullseye on the Kai'Sa. It's going to make it really difficult. So, BLG are going to have to be perfect when they choose those engages. Try to get the Plasma in onto Light. Try to get Elk involved in that way so they can get into the backline, burst them down, and find a winning fight through that. But the one thing I will say is Kai'Sa really can transform as a champion as you get later into the game, because in the early game, you really are that dive champ. Once you start getting more and more AP items, you can kind of just become a full-on poke champ and say, you know what, I'm not going to interact.
Very, very scary stuff if he can get to that point, but it's a big if, considering Weibo are the ones who seem to have the magic team fight recipe in this one. We already talked about the AoE earlier, and that dragon fight was a beautiful showcasing of it. The multi-hit on the Fate Seal, the Glacial Prison on top of everybody, the fact that the Rumble Equalizer then just completely destroyed the whole thing. BLG are going to have to pilot this smart, and that's the thing that they have done so far in the series, though. We've seen 2 very close games thus far, but when it really mattered, when all the chips were down, BLG came out on top twice.
I think it's more difficult this time around, though, because of how strong Light is. He gets to dictate the mid wave, which makes it very easy then for you to control sides and make it difficult for Knight and Bin to actually play through those side lane strengths. And as long as you're able to push mid and get vision for the dragon that's in 30 seconds, you're able to keep control over BLG. I think you just set up a front to back where Light is untouched in these fights.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but you also have to admit, BLG has had a bit of that magic touch, right? Yep. They have had the ability to fight out. There you go, they got that mojo. They've had the ability to fight their way out of some really difficult situations. And that's one of the things I think that just made them so hard to bet against in the LPL. Even when someone would have a bad game, you look towards On's Bard game, in the finals, where he was dying time and time again, but other players step up on BLG and can be a difference maker. There's so many threats on this team, just as far as individual skill, that you can never count them out of a game.
All right, we do have that Hex Rift, and we do have the first one of its dragons alive now as Weibo has control over the bottom side river. Knight is split pushing up in the top lane. Bin just pushing out a wave here in bottom, and it looks like Weibo are going to be able to secure this, but BLG now stepping up a little bit late. Hex Tech Drake secured by Tarzan and Weibo, but now the Skarner ulti coming back over. Equalizer summoned up over the top. Tarzan is low, but he ain't gonna be killed off here just yet, still staying alive a little bit longer. Tarzan burns down, and Shun's taking the kill. Light burst it down! Beautiful execution coming in from Knight as Crisp has to try to escape. It's 3 dead on Weibo. It's about to be 4. The dragon fight favored them last time, but this time around it is their death sentence.
It was a disaster for Crisp. We'll catch it in the replay. He goes to Twisted Advance on towards Elk as he dies, but Elk slingshots himself into the fight, which then completely leaves Light alone with Knight on the back line.
And that is the exact kind of fight what I'm talking about with BLG. You can just never count them out. Knight finds Light, and even with the fight starting so well for Light and getting so much chip damage down, it just didn't matter. He knows the damage thresholds perfectly on the Akali. He flashes forward, finishes off the Ezreal, creates space for the rest of the fight to really get ran over.
But keep their eyes on Crisp here. So essentially they think that they've got the help that they need, but Elk shoots himself immediately down into this fight, brings Crisp with them, which means that then Light is completely left alone on the top side. So Knight just turns on towards the AD carry and burns out Light as the rest of BLG are dealing with Weibo in the piss.
But look at how much damage that was from Knight. I mean, he knows the thresholds perfectly there. Light was about 80% health when Knight was maybe 20 to 30. But he knows flash forward, Q, auto, R2 ulti, plus the Storm Surge proc. It was precise damage. He needed this proc damage from the Storm Surge to kill him. He calculates it perfectly. That is the difference between the world's best and everyone else.
And we were talking at the beginning of the game, hey, if Akali gets a couple of kills, if Akali gets ahead of the pace of everybody on Weibo, starts becoming this single issue threat onto Light, then that's how this comp can come alive. And we're at that point of the game right now, as Xiaohu's gonna try to get away here with a Fate Sealed. Bin forcing out the flash from the Weibo mid laner, the counter-strike threatening to potentially be a death blow as Weibo are scrambling to try to defend against a Baroned up BLG.
I just love the pressure they're putting on Xiaohu. They know that Yone's ultimate, his flash is so powerful in that 5v5, it's getting taxed constantly.
And now BLG get to set up a mid because they've already blown.
On engages with a massive three-man knockup, but there ain't any follow-up to go behind it. On's just gonna be the sacrificial Alistar as everything gets thrown towards resisting the assault. BLG, yes, they'll claim the tier 1 turret, but it stops there.
I think that Sejuani up from Tarzan may have just saved it because On was hoping we could take the tower, then follow up, but nobody could auto, and now Xiaohu.
Xiaohu trying to get away from Bin's Jax. He's
Knight's
already
coming.
used the Soul Unbound. Knight's ready and waiting. The storm strikes, but now the rest of Weibo's coming around to try to pick off Elk and Shun. A nice two-man impale comes through, and into the back line goes Knight again. He's already found Light. It's lights out for Weibo. It is an ace for BLG.
What is a goat to a king? As he sits there, he will gobble up Weibo, happy as he can be, as BLG look to make this a 3-0.
They are barreling straight down mid lane with Shun and Bin. I don't know if they'll be able to end it right here. It doesn't look like they can do the whole thing. Weibo is still standing, but their legs are broken.
And look at the gold lead building up from this Baron power play. They're about to take the tier 2 bot as well. This is going to be a 5,000 gold swing here with the Red Bull Baron power play. That is massive. 5,400 gold into their pockets. You needed to execute perfectly to be able to make some of those plays happen earlier on the Akali. Now, not so much.
3,000 gold lead for Knight when he started off this game behind. He has played this absolutely exceptionally. I mean, we'll get to see it again.
It's the whole top side of the map, right? And this is Xiaohu again. They have taxed his resources. No ult, no flash. Bin pushes in, knowing Knight is going to be able to come in and support.
Yeah, and just able to get the immediate perfect execution through him, which means he's got the R2 to follow up. But Weibo are trying to aggress onto BLG as they move into this choke point, and Elk is just free firing the whole time.
And look at how he plays that. Just so much confidence. Knows he's eventually going to go down, but makes sure to hit everything, including that W, to proc the Plasma onto the Rumble, kills him off. They win the fight, and the solo lane lead now is enormous. They know it. They are feeling that World Finals is one fight away.
And it's smiles like that on Knight's face that remind me of his comm saying, look, watch me, I'm about to solo kill this guy. It is a man who loves this game, who brings it to the main stage, and is happy to show his stuff.
Crisp in some trouble here. A shot goes in for the three-man Skarner ulti. No follow-up just yet from BLG. Knight coming around from the side. Crisp is about to be killed off here with the very start. Fate sealed, but it is not enough. The only fate sealed today is that of Weibo Gaming. Knight jumps back over the wall as Tarzan and Light scramble to survive. Light kites it out a little bit further, but finally drops. The best team in the LPL shows their worth yet again. They will crush 2023's Demons, and they will earn a ticket to the World Finals in London. BLG is going all the way.
of 2023, and they will go forward to the World Finals.
Knight leaves no doubt about who is the best mid laner on this stage today. 8-0-7, the final game on the Akali. They have the confidence to lock it. They have the support behind him, and he shows why they do.
BLG with a clean sweep over Weibo to earn their spot in finals. Desk, break it down.
We're just going to share in your hype for a little bit and not just get into breaking it down, because you guys set it up so perfectly about this journey for BLG, about bringing the World Championship back for the LPL. Here we're also, of course, in Paris. FPX grabbed it in 2019. They get this to be their jump-off point into that final, as it is Weibo that have to go home after a valiant effort, but maybe just not the stronger team today.
Yeah, and I think this went according to what we saw from these teams in the LPL. I think more people should be looking at Breathe. He had a great tournament and again has come so